Alright. Let's see. Are we live? Or are we live? Right, I take it we are live, people. Alright. I'm just gonna set this up. Just delicately. Just make sure it's all good. Right, so. Alright. Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Qué tal? ¿Qué hubo? Just straightening this. Un momento, un momento. Alright. I take it we are good, inshallah. Afwan. I've been unfortunately a little under the weather, but I mean, everybody I know is almost down right now, so I mean, I apologize, but right. Oh, let me share this straight away. Sorry people, lo siento. Look at that, doing my, oh my god, it's refused my retina scan. Looks like the dajjalic system has been hacked and it's refusing my just goes to show people when you're down. Right, I'm just, those of you just tuning in, ahlan wa sahlan. I'm just about to share this and then we should be good to go. Okay, I take it, I can see. Alright. That's what I'm talking about. Look at all of this. Right, cool. I'm just sharing this. One moment, people, one moment. It's almost done. If I can get this to type. Right, I take it that's done. Okay, that's done. Alright, so أهلا وسهلا إن الحمد لله وكفاه والصلاة والسلام على رسوله المصطفى وعلى عباده الذين ارتضى ومن بهداهم اعتدى وبآثار أهل المدينة اقتفى وبعد فسلام الله على القوم. أهلا وسهلا بكم. Bienvenidos a todos. One Ying Layth. And swagatam, people, swagatam. So, what have we got in store? Let me just move some of this stuff right here. Okay, cool. Now, what a week! Once again, people, it's been quite a week. A hell of a lot going on. Now bogged down with this. So, more importantly, what are you guys, what is on your minds and what is bothering you? Look at that, people. I've had some interesting things going on. The refutations continue, so some refutations. We've got some obsession by Makri, we've got which I'll be looking at a bit later on. He's got a 2-hour video on it, Hassan. Oh, right, okay. Shukran. This is The tea is a must, is a must. So, right, so what is going, let's take some of these questions, people. Let's take, and let the fitan and fasad begin. Some people, they become obsessed, I tell you. Oh, that reminds me, in fact, right there, I'll come to that in a moment. Why does everyone hate dawn man? Dawn. Why does everyone hate dawn man? It's probably because they have to wake up. Alright, people. Dawa man. Oh, I saw that clip, by the way. It's like, what was it? It was, shut up! Shut up! When I tell you the hadith, you shut up! Shut up! It was, this is why you mans are finished! You mans are finished! Finish! You mandem! You mandem are khalas! Khalas! Oh. You see, if people are misbehaving, let's say, many years back when I trained as a qualified teacher in schools and colleges. Now, schools, especially secondary schools, or I don't know if you guys call them high schools, or management of people and of the students is such a key skill. Okay, how to manage, because all these good for nothing kids want to do is just wind the teacher up. That's all they want to do. That is, their day has been made if they can get you to lose your cool. So that is so something you have to train as, or we had to train as, was classroom management. So there's many ways. If people are, let's say people are misbehaving, or people are not paying attention, there's ways to kind of regain people's attention. And for example, one of the things is you just stop. You just stop. You just make eye contact with one or two of the culprits, and that's it. You just look. And then, thank you. Now that I have your attention. See, there's a way, there's a skill to these things. It's not, obviously, if you just go, they will eat you up. These monsters of people. That is not how to do it. Shut up. Shut up. Kayate. Khamosh. This is not how to do it. You shut up when I'm talking to you. God damn it, you shut up. Because I say that Allah has said, so you shut up. That was humorous to watch. It was humorous. Yeah, I mean, you can't, you see, you can't lose your cool with people, especially like that, especially if people are just talking and they're not even winding you up per se. So then you've got a very short fuse. Right. I don't know, that's a really good question. How do these people have followers? I don't know, because how does he, seriously? It beats me. I think, sometimes I see like people, sometimes I see my followers increasing subtly, by the tens, maybe after a week, 100, 150, this kind of increase. And I think, alhamdulillah, the message is expanding. And then I see people like this with hundreds of thousands of followers. And I think, Ya salam. I must be lacking in the charm element. I don't know what it is. I need to start doing all this. Shut up! Just fly across the classroom like, fun and games, fun and games. Well, that's enough of him. So what is going down, people? What is going on? A hell of a lot. You need to wave your hands about more. It's alright. My hands are absolutely fine the way they are. That just about winds everybody up. You know, the amount of people I've had message me say, brother, I'd like to ask you a serious question. What do you what do you symbolize when you do this? And the way they ask is so formal and so serious. It's like I feel I'm at a disciplinary or something. Well, it's actually to wind people like you up. Alright, rock on. Right, so this is what's going down, people. So I came across this post the other day saying, oh, why do these Imams want to act all cool? Huh? Why does the Imam want to act all cool? I don't want an Imam that acts cool. I'm already cool. I need an Imam to teach me about religion. Who the hell says things like that? Like, I'm already cool? That person is anything but cool. God damn. The world, huh? And then I get a post about me saying, oh, I got a surprise about these people. I got a surprise. Un momento, okay? I got this post saying that this Mufti is like a small dajjal, so who's gonna have the letters KFR. But I thought I couldn't get the R, so I put a C instead, KFC. If I tilt it this way, it'll look like a Ra in the Arabic language. So one could argue that's a Ra, and that's the Kaf, the KF. So Dajjal. But I was a bit offended. The person said, he's a small Dajjal. Yeah, this small Dajjal don't suit me. I want to be like a big Dajjal. Like this ain't fair. Nah. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, F. People, this is so this is dedicated to some of these people who make a mockery, you know? They make the mockery of the deen. So, yes, people, I am a good guy. I have been sent as a test. Well, that didn't last long, did it? That didn't last long. Right, well, so somebody had made this post about me saying that he's a small Dajjal, and I was offended. I thought, come on, man. I want to be like a big Dajjal. Like this small stuff this ain't my style. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so let's take some questions, man. Let's take some questions. God. And I'm going to be responding, by the way, to to Maulvi Makri. I'm going to be responding to him a little later on today. So when I don't make the Makri of this deen, you know, the Makri. I'll be responding to that later on. So people, so what are some questions? Let's take some questions, people. There were a few questions that were sent in today. Yeah, what's going on? My eye scanning being detected. I feel like the Dajjalic system is catching up with me. All right, we're in, people. We're in. That's what I'm talking about. Let's take a look at some of these questions. These questions. Oh, somebody's just sharing the Dawah Man clip again. Right, I've got some questions. Whoa, quite a few questions here. What's your learned take on the moon splitting miracle? I've answered this before. Check my YouTube, people. Check my YouTube. How does the Hanafi madhab compare to the Maliki madhab? I think both are incredible. Although I think the Hanafi madhab has been massively hijacked in the last, definitely for the last several centuries. Imam Abu Hanifa himself was a legend. But not so much the Hanafi madhab today. It's a bit of a, it's weird. It's like a real control freak madhab today. So I would advise for the school of Medina. Alright, the Maliki madhab, people. Look at that, the Maliki madhab. So that's what I'd advise for. Oh, Mu'adh, you're doing it. Right. Hamza, shout out. Vah, look at these shout outs going on, huh? I've asked several times before. Look at this. This is like when you're telling somebody off. KM says, I've asked several times before. God damn it. Please comment on the Nafs al-Ammara bis-Su'. The Nafs which is commanding the evil. What is it and how are we slaves to it? Allah, slaves. Look at the illustrious depiction. Nafs is, I suppose, your desires, isn't it? Yourselves, the caprice, the all these kind of things. It doesn't have to be another entity like like this. This is one of my daughters left this here. Like, this ain't your nafs inside you like, hey, you gotta do this. Like, no, okay. It's not quite like that. The nafs is you. It is within you. It is a part of you. It is your kind of like your strong inner limbic system, that kind of the things that make you do some nasty and horrible things. Something we all are unfortunately way too accustomed to. It's what Freud would have meant when he said that people are more moral than they think, yet far more immoral than they can imagine. Allah. Allama Freud, one of my heroes. So that's the Ammara bis-Su', meaning it's the self that commands you. I don't think these are different selves. Some people have taken that kind of an understanding, that these are different selves. I don't think that's not my kind of understanding anyway. Somebody's asked, why is the depiction of Hur, Hur, people, Hur, you know those women in paradise, the Hur, with white, wide-eyed, but everybody's iris is white. Like, I don't get it. Unless you've tattooed white, wide-eyed, full-breasted. What about the rest of us? This is Amir's question. Is paradise racist? I mean, what is it supposed to kind of say, like half-breasted? And since when is our breasts a race? Like, how could that be? It doesn't make, this question doesn't make any sense. Why is the... I mean, it's hardly going to be enticing if it says something like, hey people, there's going to be some malnutritioned women waiting for you. Or if it says something like this, as it's hardly going to entice, and then like, so are we up for this? Yeah? Huh? No? Come on, guys. No? Come on. No? So obviously it's obviously going to try to entice people with something they find enticing, not with something like saying, you know, why are they like perfect women, as opposed to saying what, like imperfect. I don't get what the... Oh, wait a minute, I think I've misread this. I think when he's saying white, wide-eyed, he's asking white by skin, wide-eyed. Ah, I thought he was referring to the whiteness in the eye. So okay, are they white in skin? I mean, to be honest with you, I've not been to that paradise that you're talking about. So, white, I don't think the Quran refers to the women of paradise as white. No such verse comes to my mind. It refers to them as hur al-ain, which means that their eyes is kind of referring to their eyes being so amazing and like dark, like the actual... So they're black-eyed don't sound very good. It sounds like they've been black-eyed, but it's really dark and black and obviously contrasted with the whiteness. It's so amazing. That's what it's trying to highlight. It doesn't actually, as far as I'm aware, I don't know what verse you're referring to, that they're not referred to as white in skin. It doesn't mention anything about their skin. But look, these verses are generic. Baydun maknoon. No, you see, that's somebody saying Baydun maknoon means white. No, it doesn't. Bayd is like an egg. Okay, you're talking about bead with a kasra refers to white. Bayd, and this verse is talking about the boys, by the way. It's the servants in paradise. It's not even speaking about the women. So bayd is not white. That's bead in Arabic. Bead is the plural of abyad. For example, bayd is the collective noun for egg. Okay. So anyway, but this was referring to, this was addressing the Arabs of the time. So in the time of the Prophet, the general, Arabia as a whole, the general culture was that, let's say, the ideal woman, so to speak, had certain characteristics. To be fair, I don't think the Arabs had an obsession with white, as in the way we understand white today. One could argue fair-skinned, but not necessarily white. Like, I don't think they saw Roman women of their age as an epitome of beauty. They didn't. They actually saw women with dark hair, black eyes, and maybe fair skin as what was in their poetry kind of idolized as the ideal woman. Now, each culture, each kind of, I don't know, era, each region within the world may have their own versions of beauty. Okay, I don't think there's any harm in, you know, people having their preferences. There's nothing. Some people prefer some, let's say, fair skin. Some people prefer dark skin. Some people prefer slender, slender heavenly form. Some people prefer like really large, fat, overweight. In fact, today, some of you are laughing. I'm not being funny. I'm serious. There's today I just saw on Facebook, there was this woman whose dream it is to be the fattest woman on earth. And she was huge, honestly. I don't know, I think she's an American or something. But it was on Facebook. And she's got her boyfriend who's supporting her through this campaign, through this hobby. She was, oh my God, it was painful to watch, to just see. I saw it on my newsfeed. I thought, what the hell is this? So I click, and it's like the fat is just hanging. It's she is huge, huge, huge. She's like, she makes obese people feel like, you know, like maybe we're in malnutrition. So I was like, whoa. And her boyfriend was madly in love with her. So there you go. See? وَلِلنَّاسِ فِي مَا يَعْشَقُونَ مَذَاهِبُ. Each to their own. Each to their own, people. So I think there's nothing wrong with people having preferences. That's natural. People will have their own preferences. And the Arabs at the time had a general kind of preference. And what happened is the Quran addressed that general preference. So Ibn Hazm, for example, many hundreds of years later, he speaks about how the Arabs, even then in his time, and the Muslims as a whole, still had that similar ideal. So they were still really obsessed with women with very dark black hair and black eyes, and that they still had this as an ideal beauty. He speaks about this in his book on love, The Psychology of Love by Ibn Hazm, known as the Tail or the Ring of the Dove. And it's interesting because he speaks in this saying that addressing this concept of blonde women, and because most of the kings of the Umayyad dynasty in Muslim Spain, and the Umayyad dynasty in Muslim Spain was like one of the most magnificent kind of dynasties ever held by Muslims. It was really symbolic of true majesty and power, and it was the heights of the Muslim kind of achievements and empire. It was not so much, it's not viewed the way the Umayyad dynasty in the East was viewed. So the Umayyad dynasty in the West was something else. It was amazing. And he speaks about how most of the Umayyad kings, right, most of the Umayyad kings were all pretty much blonde because their mothers were blonde. So the kings, you would marry, obviously, they would marry and have their harem, have their harem just like a paradise on earth, right? So now, obviously, many of the women there were also, because it was Muslim Spain, they were European as well. So the next kings, like the offspring, were often all, they took after their mothers. So he speaks about how they were all ashqar, like blonde. And what they would do, so Abdurrahman and Nasir, as an example, would dye his hair black. He would color his hair black and his beard black because he wanted that kind of look of being dark-haired, dark beard, dark eyed. Like that's what the Arabs still saw and the Muslims still saw as this, the epitome of beauty in there. And this is like maybe 400 years after the Prophet. So he speaks about how he, on the contrary, was like an odd one out because he was really attracted to like European women in his time. So he says how he's like an oddity Like, nobody really shares that that kind of fascination with blondes in his day and age. So it's interesting. You can read these things. I think don't take these things to heart. The Quran is not being racist. It's just addressing people with their certain preferences. I think the issue with racism is when you start to discriminate. The issue with racism is when you start to discriminate against other things, as opposed to just having your preference. Okay, so that's just... in fact, there's a poet, Dahlawi, who I've quoted often, who, when speaking about Jannah and the women in Jannah, he says, Jisme ho, like speaking of paradise, Jisme ho lakhon baras ki hurein, that a paradise in which the women are hundreds of thousands of years old. Aisi jannat ka kya kare koi? He says, what the hell do you want us to do with a paradise like that? He says, like, do you want us to just what? They're like hundreds of thousands of years old, for God's sake. You gotta love the kind of poets of the past, honestly. They had style to them. Whatever, you know, whatever you say, they had style. That's not Ghalib, that's Dar Dahlawi. So, right, so now, next question, people, next question. Let's take on some issues. God, I'm trying to... Now, I have taken a look at a few questions beforehand. That's better. Sorry, it's this screen as well taking so long to... Did Monday nights become a living, breathing person that was diagnosed with multiple personalities? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Isn't poetry discouraged in Islam? Not at all. Susaya. Not at all. On the contrary. The Prophet said, وَإِنَّ مِنَ الشِّعْرِ لَحِكْمَةً. Indeed, from poetry is wisdom. Okay, so... I think poetry is awesome. And in fact, I think a person who doesn't truly appreciate poetry, I think truly can't appreciate beauty. That's an opinion, but I think so. I think so. There's a subtlety in words. It's one of the greatest human ventures. Salam, hello. Manazza, well, hello there. Is it allowed to travel as a woman in Maliki fiqh? Susan bintu Muhammad. Well, I've actually got a whole analysis on that, so keep watching. I'm going to come to an entire analysis on that topic. So, what else are we looking at? Before I get to that analysis, shall we... Just trying to see... Somebody had asked a question, did you just drink with your left hand? Sabreen, behave. Can you see that? It's in reverse. Right, so, how does a new Muslim pray if they haven't learned al-Fatiha? If they haven't learned al-Fatiha, Abdul Hamid is asking, you simply... you just go along with the motions. Just go along with what people around you have, or what they are doing, and you just practice until you learn. So that's fine. Right. What else have we got? Somebody has asked about, these things like the Day of Judgment and the Sirat. Now, you've got to understand, all these things are simple imagery, okay? it doesn't mean it's actually going to be like that. These things are done for you to kind of take a lesson from and just understand it's not exactly how you're picturing it, okay? So somebody's asked about the Sirat. In line with that, somebody actually asked me, we've got Muhammad Riyal tuning in from South Africa. Muhammad Riyal, ahlan wa sahlan, ahlan wa sahlan. Sue Saya has asked, Allah said in the Quran about poets being hypocrites. Oh, Sue, what is it with you and poetry? Why? Isn't there that Amir Khan where he says, "Sukar mere man ko kiya tune kya ishara." Right, so that's in a movie of his. Anyway, look, in Surah Al-Shu'ara, Allah is condemning those specific poets who are misguiding people, misleading people. Not every poet. Of course not. Poetry was amazing. The people in Bukhari, you find a hadith that the companions would sit in the Prophet's mosque discussing poetry of Jahiliyyah. Ka'b ibn Zuhair, the son of the famous poet from Jahiliyyah, Zuhair ibn Abi Salma, he comes to the Prophet and he reads his poem to the Prophet, dedicated to the Prophet, and it's a very famous poem about Banat Su'adu fa qalbi al-yawma matbulu. Now, this that he's speaking about his love called Su'ad, it's a woman's name, and how she's left him and his heart is all kind of crippled after her, and the whole thing is a love poem. And then he ends it in there. He's got some lines about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and so based on that, so the Prophet gets up and gives him his own kind of shawl. He gives it to him as a prize, as a kind of like appreciation, token of appreciation. Poetry is not haram. It's not discouraged. In fact, it's encouraged. The Quran was speaking when it says about that وَأَنَّهُمْ فِي كُلِّ وَادٍ يَهِيمُونَ وَأَنَّهُمْ يَقُولُونَ مَا لَا يَفْعَلُونَ, that when it speaks about the poets that they are going here and there and they're lost, because it was speaking, Ibn Ashur says it was speaking about a specific poets of the time who were like lost, and they were speaking against the Prophet and against Allah. So that's okay. Yep. Mutayyamun ithraha lam yufta makbulu. Yep, that's the poem. Right, so now I lost my train of thought. Right, somebody had asked about the beast. The beast. Not as in beast mode. Not as in shut up. But the beast to do with the end of times and so on. That this beast that will emerge. Now the question is, what is this beast? And they've said, is this beast this kind of animal that's going to get up? It's called in Arabic dabba. Okay. This dabba just means like a creature. This creature will emerge that will go around, and there's all these kind of hadith about this dabba. So, speaking about the dabba, there's a verse in the Quran referring to this. So let's go to that. This is the dawn of the 20th century, people. The legend, the Grand Mufti of the Malikiya and the Shaykh al-Islam of the 20th century, Ibn Ashur, the Maliki legend, one of my indirect teachers who my chains of knowledge go through. Allah, Allah, ha. In some things you should have pride. What do you think? What do you think, people? Now, so when we're looking at this in Surah An-Naml, in verse, this is follows on from verse 80, 81, 82, these kind of verses. And it begins with the famous verse that all of you have heard, that إِنَّكَ لَا تُسْمِعُ الْمَوْتَى. Alright? إِنَّكَ لَا تُسْمِعُ الْمَوْتَى وَلَا تُسْمِعُ السُّمَّ الدُّعَاءِ إِذَا وَلَّوْا مُدْبِرِينَ. That إِنَّكَ لَا تُسْمِعُ الْمَوْتَى, that you will not cause the dead to hear. Allah is addressing the Prophet. He says, you will not cause the dead to hear. وَلَا تُسْمِعُ السُّمَّ الدُّعَاءِ إِذَا وَلَّوْا مُدْبِرِينَ. And you will not cause the deaf to hear. Deaf here is a metaphor for those people who are like deafened by their arrogance to listen. إِذَا وَلَّوْا مُدْبِرِينَ, if they turn their backs on you and walk away. Meaning that you would not be able to make them listen to the truth. That you can only, إِنَّمَا عَلَيْكَ الْبَلَاغِ, that you will only tell them what the truth is. It's up to them to embrace it or not. Following this verse, Allah then says, وَمَا أَنْتَ بِهَادِ الْعُمْيِ عَنْ ضَلَالَتِهِمْ. And you are not the one to guide the blind. Okay, once again, speaking about those who are blind to the truth. Okay, as Allah says, لَكِنْ تَعْمَلْ, that it's not the eyes. لَكِنْ تَعْمَلْ قُلُوب, it's their hearts that are blind to the truth. You are not somebody that can guide the blind from their misguidance. وَمَا أَنْتَ بِهَادِ الْعُمْيِ عَنْ ضَلَالَتِهِمْ إِن تُسْمِعُ إِلَّا مَنْ يُؤْمِنُ بِآيَاتِنَا فَهُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. That you will only be able to make those here who listen to our verses, our signs, وَهُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ, and they submit to this truth. Now, following this, in verse 82, Allah begins by speaking about what? About the dead. إِنَّكَ لَا تُسْمِعُ الْمَوْتَى. You will not, that the dead, you cannot do anything about them. They are dead. And these who are so arrogant, you can't do anything about them. Here then in verse 82, Allah goes back to the topic of the dead and the afterlife. وَإِذَا وَقَعَ الْقَوْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ أَخْرَجْنَا لَهُمْ دَابَّةً مِنَ الْأَرْضِ تُكَلِّمُهُمْ أَنَّ النَّاسَ كَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا لَا يُوقِنُونَ. Okay. When the command has been established, the matter has been resolved, when it has happened, this is what Allah is saying. وَإِذَا وَقَعَ عَلَيْهِمُ الْقَوْلُ, that وَإِذَا وَقَعَ الْقَوْلُ عَلَيْهِمْ, that this matter is now being resolved. When is Allah talking about? When is everything resolved? It's in the afterlife. أَخْرَجْنَا لَهُمْ دَابَّةً. We at that stage will bring forth for them a creature. This creature, تُكَلِّمُهُمْ أَنَّ النَّاسَ كَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا لَا يُوقِنُونَ. This creature will strangely address them that they used to disbelieve in these signs. That Allah will give life to this inanimate creature to show them this is how we bring the dead to life. Ibn Ashur says that this is speaking about the akhirah, this beast. He says, وَهَذَا انتقال إلى التذكير بالقيامة وَمَا ادُّخِرَ لَهُم مِّنَ الْوَعِيدِ. This now moves on to a remembrance of the day of judgment and what has been held for them as a kind of intimidation. So he says, فَهَذِهِ الْجُمْلَةِ مَعْطُوفَ عَلَى الْجُمْلِ So he says this is attached to the sentence before it, إِنَّكَ لَا تُسْمِعُ mota. Now, then he goes on to say here, he says, وَإِخْرَاجُ الدَّابَّةِ مِنَ الْأَرْضِ لِيُرِيَهُمْ كَيْفَ يُحْيِي اللَّهُ الْمَوْتَى إِذْ كَانُوا قَدْ أَنْكَرُوا الْبَعْثِ وَلَا شَكَّ أَنَّ كَلَامَهَا. He says this is because they used to deny the afterlife. And there is no doubt that the speech of this beast to them, خِطَابٌ لَهُمْ, is an address بِحُلُولِ الْحَشَرِ. It is upon the occurrence of the day of judgment, Yawm al-Hashr, the day Allah gathers everybody. This is what he says, and then he mentions وَقَدْ رُوِيَتْ فِي وَصْفِ هَذِهِ الدَّابَّةِ وَوَقْتِ خُرُوجِهَا وَمَكَانِهِ أَخْبَارٌ مُضْطَرِبَةٌ ضَعِيفَةُ الْأَسَانِيدِ. He says there are many narrations that are speaking about this creature coming, when it will come, how it will come at the end of time, how it will come on this earth. He says all of them are muttarib. They all are clashing, unreliable narrations. ضَعِيفَةُ الْأَسَانِيدِ. ضَعِيفَةُ الْأَسَانِيدِ. These are weak narrations. فَانظُرْهَا. He says, you can see in the tafsir of Qurtubi, وَغَيْرِ إِذْ لَا طَائِلَ فِي جَلْبِهَا وَنَقْدِهَا. There isn't even any benefit in bringing them and criticizing them. That's how unreliable they are. So that is the legend explaining to you that that is the legend explaining to you, Ibn Ashur, that this Dabbatul Ard is a creature, tukallimuhum, will come fi yawm al-hashr, on the day of judgment, as the Quran addresses it. It is not speaking about this in this dunya, okay? So that some people may like to believe that it's going to happen in this dunya. That's their choice, it's their belief, although the Quran seems to address this as though it's speaking about the afterlife. And that is what Ibn Ashur, the legend, the Shaykh al-Islam of the 20th century and the Grand Mufti of the Malikiya addresses, and that's what I'm in line with. We've got Ustad Sheikh Nu'man Beg in the house. Ahlan wa sahlan, Sheikh. Ahlan wa sahlan. It's an honor to have you here, people. Somebody who set up, who not only went to the same, a senior to me in Jamia Binoria when I was studying in Karachi, but also the first alim to return back to the United States, I believe, after finishing his alim course and setting up the first major madrasa in the United States. Ahlan wa sahlan. Right, so that is as far as that is concerned. What are your views? Is not Dhul Qarnayn Cyrus the Iranian king? You see, I'm not sure. These kind of things, Allah speaks in the Quran. When things are being addressed in the Quran, there's two things going on. There's a story, a narrative, and then there's historical accuracy and facts and lessons. The story is brought not to teach you, for example, when Allah mentioned the story, He's not trying to teach you science or geography or even history or zoology or anatomy. He's trying to just allow you to take a lesson from this, a moral from the story. Now, if you want to add things, that's fine, that's up to you. Okay? But that was not the purpose of the Quran. Okay, now, so that's that. Muhammad Adnan has asked about Sheikh Dr. Akram Nadwi and an article or his brief, if you want to call it an article, on his words on the second coming of Jesus. I think that's a good question. You see, Sheikh Akram Nadwi is an amazing legendary, really, scholar in his own right, and a blessing to us Muslims in the West and in the UK. And to me, not only a senior person from age and ilm, but also somebody I would like to see as the senior scholarship of the UK and the West. And he really, wallahi, in my understanding, demonstrates through actions how scholarship ought to be. Now, he wrote this article on, if we want to call it an article, a response on the second coming of Jesus. Now, my understanding is that, no, it's very clear from the, sorry, not my understanding, it's very clear from what he wrote that he does believe in the second coming of Jesus. Now, people, this is how you disagree. This is how you disagree. Sheikh Akram Nadwi, this was released yesterday, this kind of Arabic. He wrote it in Arabic, and people sent it to me as well. This morning, Sheikh Akram Nadwi himself, he phoned me. Okay. I was actually thinking that, you know, I would like to speak to him now about this matter, but he phoned me, and I sent him a message, and he kind of phoned me, and we had wallahi, a beautiful kind of conversation that followed. And I wish this is how ulama would disagree. You know, he said to me, he said that, look, his only issue was with debates. It was not with opinions. And I asked him, I said, Sheikh, this was, and you can verify this with the Sheikh. I said, Sheikh, I said, you know, would you not acknowledge this is a difference of opinion? And people who this settles well with, they take this. People who that settles well with, they take that. Wallahi, he said, I have no problem with that. He said, in fact, these were his words. He said that people, he said somebody approached me weeks ago asking me in the masjid that what do you say about somebody who denies the second coming of Jesus? He said, I say, and what? And the person was kind of shocked and said, what do you mean? Like, why wouldn't you condemn him? And he said, I said to the person, why would I condemn him? It's his choice. If he wants to believe it, believe it. And he said to me, look, Shaykh Akram said to me, I do believe, he does believe that in the second coming, but he actually advised me. He said, look, do your course on it. Show people your evidence that you believe Jesus is not coming. He said, that's fine. He said, that's your opinion. I respect that as a different opinion. And he said that I was simply venting about this debate. That was what I was kind of really condemning. These were his words. He said to me, look, I've got no issue with people having different opinions. And he said, I actually think diversity in opinions is very healthy for the UK and in the West, and it brings about a maturity in Muslims. So wallahi, that is how you disagree. And he just said to me that, look, he said, you know, Mufti, he said, look, just don't get caught up in these debates in this and that, and because, you know, you're wasting your precious time and you're much better off. And he said you're much better off investing it in the kind of teaching you do and stuff like that. You're making a difference. These were his words to me. And he said that, look, and by the way, people had been spreading rumors that he really regrets doing that course with me. People have been kind of sharing these posts saying, oh, I bet Akram Nadwi, I bet Sheikh Akram Nadwi really regrets doing that course, you know, debunking myths of black magic and jinn possession with Mufti Abu Layth. And he said to me, he said, wallahi, I do not, he said, that's not true. He said, I'm very happy that I did that course with you. And he said, when I did it with you, he said, I was actually really surprised at your way of thinking, and it impressed me and I liked it. And he said, and I want to see you doing more stuff like that. And he said to me, look, why don't you do a proper video on your opinion on Jesus, but just stay away from, like he said, just don't kind of get lost in these debates, because all these people just want to debate you, and that's not kind of beneficial. Wallahi, some amazing gems of advice. May Allah forever keep him smiling, touch my heart. And he always does, and I see him in that kind of very senior kind of, for the UK really, that kind of patriarchal role. And even if he disagrees with me, that is fine. I'm not here to kind of say everybody has to agree with me. I've never said that. I've just said, stop drowning the dissent. my only plea has been, be transparent. Like, where there's a difference, acknowledge a difference. Don't be uber black and white when it's a high, 4K, high definition color picture. Stop this kind of, this mafioso, this very kind of blackmailing approach to knowledge. That's not, so that's been my, so I really respect and love whatever he has to say. Look, he can disagree with me, and I respect that as the Sheikh's opinion, and and he has no problem, in his words, with me having this view. And he said to me he's more than happy to do similar events with me in the future. I mean, not necessarily on Jesus, but on other issues. He said that, don't think what these people are saying, that I'm kind of, that I regret kind of, being hosted with you and things. He said, not at all. He said, and I actually speak very positively about you. Wallahi, amazing words. Really meant a lot to me, because some people were trying to misuse his words, and I have a lot of respect for him. So sometimes you get a bit confused, and you don't know, like, what's going on. And so I really love him for really calling me and just saying, look, I wrote this yesterday and I want to explain what this is about. And so subhanallah. So that's, if you want to disagree with me like that, Allah Rasi, I would have nothing but amazing words to say about you. If you want to disagree with me like that, anybody, that kind of disagreement is awesome. The problem is the kind of, you're a kafir, you're a borderline kafir, you're a dajjal, you're a small dajjal, you're a, what is it? You're already a murtad, somebody who's left Islam. What is this kind of stuff? What is this? Seriously. So, so I have said, and I will be doing, inshallah, in the few weeks that come, a course on the Jesus thing. It will be a private kind of course, but it will be really for the purpose of the video that we can produce. All right, that said, people, it's good. Shukran. Rick Rabbit has just shukran. Much appreciated. Appreciate your words. Khadim Rizvi for President of Pakistan. Behave. President of Pakistan. You want to plunge Pakistan into more darkness than it already is. Right, so right now, also, just some people had asked, I will be doing a Q&A event in London. You see, this is the thing, I don't organize these things. So my people who kind of manage my thing, they organize it. All I know is it's this Sunday, and I think it's between 4 to 6 p.m. or something. I'm not sure, it's in central London somewhere, around there somewhere. There's it's Waqar Ali Mulk, I think. Mulk is the name of the organizer. You can reach out to him, and it does require pre-registration. So if you want to kind of come down, it'll be awesome to meet and greet and have some gup-shup. Have a bit of a chit-chat, inshallah. Right, so 4:10 to 6:30. I don't know what that means. Any plans on coming to Manchester? Why not? Of course, inshallah. Inshallah. Shall we take... Right, let's take some of these issues. Now, there is something I'd like to discuss with us, and that is, people, I'd like to discuss how Islam changed, or the changes that were brought about in Islam after the Salaf. The Salaf are the early generations of Islam, which are the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, and the Atba'ut Tabi'een, up to the generation of like Imam Malik. After this, Islam, it begins in that kind of time, but really after them, it cements and solidifies as a different entity almost. Not as an entirely different entity, but the period after them are known as the Khalaf, those who come after. Okay, now the Khalaf, there's some religion, Islam during their time undergoes a huge institutionalization process. Religion becomes systematized, it becomes structuralized and institutionalized. It gets linked in with empire, with a lot of kind of, there's a whole system. Creed becomes codified. We now know what dogma appears all of a sudden and replaces faith. It's more about dogma. Madhabs appear now, and people start kind of, they want to just restrict people in all aspects. Now this, I'm not saying has to be that this structuralization or institutionalization of Islam has to be a bad thing. I'm not saying that, but it does bring with it a new face of Islam. One thing you can't deny is the face of Islam is modified. This is what I would like to refer to as neo-Islamicism. Okay, so Islam is obviously there, but it's now got this new structural face. It's got all these bolt-ons, and this now represents Islam. This is from the time of the Khalaf. So Aqidah becomes, it comes on the scene, madhabs land on the scene, empire is now linked to religion, religious expansionism, political things are well entrenched. I mean, some of these things were there before, but in a very prototype version. Okay, politics was there before, but the other things about the religion, so the politics earlier on was kind of almost divorced from religion to quite a strong extent. So Bani Umayyah were very political in their way and very kind of pro-tribal, but they weren't necessarily trying to push this whole Islam, Islam, Islam. They weren't trying to act like the ambassadors of Islam or linked with religion either. In fact, they didn't even really care much for scholars. But with the Abbasids, as the Abbasids start to develop, this culture emerges that locks in the clergy with the state. It creates a new culture for the clergy, a new institutionalization of the religion. And with this, there's a lot of things that go on. You see, Muslims in hindsight view the Quran like we view it with our understanding that we've developed afterwards. And it's important that we understand this point. So Muslims today, or even at that point, like let's say 1,000 years ago, when they started then reading the Quran, it was about affirming ideas that they've already now got. It wasn't so much about, it wasn't a blank canvas anymore. The ideas were already there, and Islam, the Quran was simply now a kind of proving a confirmation bias. So let's say miracles or these kind of things or anything, people would now look into the Quran only to affirm the views they already have. So this era of neo-Islamicism is interesting. And this happened, like I'd like you to, like I'll give you some examples. Like look, not about this, but just how we view the Quran with things that came after, and we retrospectively apply them back onto the Quran. So let's say as an example, here's a good example, the word like ulama. Right, so the word ulama is generally understood as scholars of Islam. إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. In a verse of the Quran, indeed the ulama are those who fear Allah. But you see, you've got to understand that ulama is a term that the Sahaba in the time of the Prophet didn't exist like this. There was no clergy. There was no ulama like that. So this sorry, I was just trying to... Alright, okay. Now, this... So when the Prophet read this to the companions, there was no clue. Who were they thinking of when they read the word ulama? Because there was no ulama. Who did the Arabs used to refer to as ulama? People with insight, with knowledge. Today the word ulama in Arabic, for example, is used for scientists, as an example. In general Arabic, they'll say ulama means scientist. In the time of the Prophet, ulama meant people of deep insight and knowledge. We read the Quran with this understanding that ulama is talking about the clergy. That's a perfect example of hindsight, retrospectively superimposing concepts on the Quran. If this is making sense, that's what I'd like to explain. Another good example is like Allah saying in the Quran, Inni ja'ilum fil ardi khalifa. I am placing a khalifa. Now today we understand this to mean representative. We understand this to mean, you see, in the time of the Prophet, they never used to use the word khalifa for like kings and deputies. So the Arabs, the Jahiliyyah Arabs, never used to say, oh, these are the khulafa, these are the kings. They would call them malik, kings. They would call them the nuqaba of a tribe, the sayyid of a tribe. They wouldn't say the khalifa. This was a word that obviously existed in Islam. I mean, in the Arabic language, it emerges after the Prophet. When Abu Bakr radiallahu an is deemed and given the title, the accolade, you are Khalifatu Rasulillah. You have come after Rasulullah. Khalifa means after. Something that comes at the end. Khalf, from the word khalf. Then what happened is in Umar's time, they said, we can't call you Khalifatul Khalifa, so we're going to call you Amirul Mu'mineen. Then this word Khalifa develops a political understanding of a ruler in Islam. So you start to get the Khulafa of Bani Umayyah and the Khulafa. So what happens in time to come, a Khalifa does not mean a successor. It does not mean a successor. It's taken on that meaning. It does not mean a successor. In that, it means somebody that, yeah, I suppose it's taken on that meaning. It means somebody that comes at the end of. And you could say, well, yes, you succeed him, but it wasn't necessarily about a chain of succession. It wasn't like that. Hence, they changed the term when it came to Umar, because now it's just getting Khalifatul Khalifa and Khalifatul Khalifatul Khalifa. So it wasn't about that. It was about the end. So something that comes as the end of something. And then it's adopted this understanding of a deputy. This is the understanding it's adopted in later Islam, in political philosophy within Islam. But then what we've done is we now, when we read the Quran and read the word Khalifa, we carry our understanding, which wasn't there in the time of the Prophet. So when the Prophet was speaking to people and read to them the verses that Inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa, right? Somebody just saying, hey bro, I'm knowledgeable on this, behave. Hey bro, I'm knowledgeable on this. You think I'm just sitting here for you? Behave yourself, right? So the thing is, look, Khalifa, inni ja'ilun fil ardi khalifa, I'm placing a khalifa in the earth. This is why khalifa here, the original understanding would have meant that Adam was coming at the end of something, that a whole chain of hominins would have preceded him, and he was at the end. Okay, so that is something for you to understand. Then this understanding of a deputy on earth and stuff like this comes much later on. It is through neo-Islamicist thought. So through the understanding of the Khalaf, it's re-engineered and superimposed onto the Quran. So I wanted to share that tip with you, that look, understand this when you look at the Quran. Try to understand terminologies when you read it. How would have the companions understood this when this was revealed? Because they didn't have these terms that we have today. And they didn't have that psychosocial narrative that reflected it either. So it's worth kind of definitely pondering over. Okay, people, shall we move on to some issues? All right. Shall we take a look at what Maulvi Yasir Sahab has said? I want to share, not take up too much time, but I want to share what, if I can open this, what Maulvi Yasir Deobandi Sahab, if I can get to this, un momento, por favor. Okay. I'm just trying to open this. You see, what's happened, people, is you're all familiar with my response to Maulvi Yasir. Now, I had obviously criticized not only his approach but his his language, because the reason I did that is it's important, first of all, to understand that when I criticized the Deobandi kind of movement, what I was criticizing was the cult. Okay, I wasn't criticizing every Deobandi, because Deobandis themselves are fed up with this cult. I've had many Deobandis, believe it or not, admit to this. Several Deobandis are fed up with this kind of cult and blackmailing kind of mentality. Maulvi Yasir himself has gone around trying this superimposition approach, controlling people. In fact, one of the Maulanas is a son of one of the major Darul Uloom in the UK, Deobandi Darul Uloom, who's on social media. I believe his name is Maulana Muawiyah, was somebody who was also heavily attacked by people like Maulana Yasir with this, I will debate you, you're trying to corrupt our Hanafi madhab, and you're like this. And so this is something that they themselves are victims of. You need to be aware, you need to kind of understand this. I've had people like Sheikh Zahir, who's done great work of Birmingham, himself acknowledge that, look, he has tried to cater more for women. And I think, and I applaud that, and I encourage this kind of these kind of efforts. He said that I've tried to cater more and more for women in my courses, in my teaching. And he said, and I'm sure he wouldn't mind me if he said, I mean, this is something he's openly acknowledged, that these Deobandis will not allow him. You see, this is a cult mentality. That is the problem. So that's the kind of cult that I'm condemning. And my purpose of mentioning Maulana Qasim Nanotwi Sahab previously to Maulvi Yasir Deobandi is because because some people, like I've had Imam Zubayr reach out to me and a few other people saying that, look, how come you highlight these kind of things about Maulana Qasim Nanotwi Sahab? And my point was that, look, you can find excuses for people saying these kind of things. It's not about, I'm not here to criticize Maulana Qasim Nanotwi, But my point is to say that you guys can, like Yasir, al-Hanafi and these other people can justify these things, and then they have a problem with me. I mean, they can justify the concept of another prophet coming after the prophet. They can justify all these things. And then they have a problem with me just saying, I mean, come on, behave. So that's, so I did. And what was interesting is when I picked up on Maulana Yasir's English, and the reason I did that is because it was appalling. I mean, this isn't a normal person. This is an Imam, British born. Okay, born and raised. For God's sake, I mean, then you're asking why are they so disenfranchised with Islam? Rather than condemning me, I said that that he needed to fix and work on his language. So after that, Sh.Yasir made a post. You know, in psychology, they speak about the overcompensating effect. So when somebody says something to somebody insecure, what that person does is they overcompensate. And part of this is like the Napoleon syndrome, like known also as the small man syndrome. Or, you know, when somebody is lacking something or they're insecure about something, because Napoleon was a small guy, so they say, you know, they give it that's why he had this rage about him. But like if somebody was, for example, criticized for being weak, they might overdo it in trying to act all strong. Or if somebody was criticized for being poor, they might overdo it in trying to act rich. And so basically, because I criticized some of his language, he made a post overdoing it with it shouldn't surprise you when you see Muslim modernists spouting egregious I gotta say, I was like, what on earth is egregious? And I want to hear him pronounce it. Egregious statements of kufr, their conspicuous beliefs. What else? By turning into a half-baked so-called Muslim, because of your ascription. Your ascription to Islam. Boy, yaar. मानना पड़ेगा boss. English तो solid है, solid. Hamza, I want to hear the Sheikh just pronouncing these words. Please. Egregious. This one. This is my exact example. Seriously, like this is, whoa. Egregious statements of kufr. Oi, 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 oi. Right, so ascription to, ascription to, I think you actually mean ascription of. First of all, ascription isn't even the best word to use. You probably wanted to say something like adherence to Islam, but okay, ascription. And if you're speaking of qualities, it's usually of. Man ge na munna na. Father Gonzalez. Amar Akbar Anthony, egregious. Yeah, what I want to say is, look, look, instead of Sheikh Molvi Yasir Saab, right, look, instead of all of this, because I'm just being honest in what I'm saying. Look, you yourself are self-alienating yourself from Muslims. The way you behave, the way you... I'm being honest that you wouldn't, like, even for Pakistan, you wouldn't fit in the cities in Pakistan. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, I'm not, but you know what it is? I love honesty. I'm being honest. Maybe in a village in Pakistan you'd fit in, but if you were in a city like Karachi in Pakistan, or Islamabad, or even Lahore, you wouldn't really fit in. They would think, oh, maybe you're from a village. Okay. Like, this is how far the Muslim world has even moved on. You need to kind of move with the times, my friend. Because look, and language is important, okay? Whether it's going to be English, like this is the problem with madrasas. Madrasas have locked off these students that neither their English is appalling. They can't speak Urdu. Their Urdu is no better. I'm being honest with you. The Urdu of these people is just as appalling, right? What can we do after that? I mean, Yasir Saab Pakhto bhai, Aukana, or what are we supposed to, what language? Hablas Español? Is it? I mean, what, Spanish, or what are we supposed... ¿Qué estás diciendo, mi hermano? Or maybe, ni hui shua chongwan ma, busha, Mandarin. I mean, some language, for God's sake. Have a language. And look, my whole point is, here's a suggestion, and in fact, this is my message to Molvi Yasir Sahib Damat Barakatuhum al-Aliya. Aarti utare aapki yaar. What I want to say is, instead of doing all these digs, every single day he's making a post about me. I mean, this is how obsessed the guy has become. How about you come and sit in front of me and we have a dialogue? How does that sound? I'm inviting you. With the condition, it's got to be a dialogue. We got to talk to each other. Please, yaar. Make it happen. It's going to be awesome. Honestly, it's going to be awesome. Don't run away. I saw on one of his posts as well, people started to say the Sher of Deoband, the Lion of Deoband. I thought, oh my God. Oh my God. Another one. Yaar, ye lion kya hai yaar? So stop acting like this Lion of Deoband. Stop hiding behind the shoulders of other great respected mashayikh like Sheikh Akram and these other people. Come and sit with me and talk to me. Huh? What say you, man? What say you? Shall we do this, or let's have a conversation? What do you say? I mean, I won't make the mockery. I won't make the mockery of the religion, This one, honestly, I really want to do this. Like, what do you say? Shall we have a conversation? You want to come? I'll set it up. Your dinner is on me. Not literally, you nutty. I know the madrasa habits die hard. But your dinner is on me. I will have it sorted. I will sort your accommodation. Everything will be catered to. If you get to Birmingham, I will have you collected in peace, in respect, with class, okay? And we can have and it will not be an egregious, it will not be an egregious dialogue, I tell you. Please, yaar, please. Arey maan jao, meri jaan. Come and please sit and talk to me, rather than, from afar, writing a post about me every day. Come and sit with me, man. Let's have a chat. It's good to talk. I want to seriously hear this person in person. Yeah, this conspicuously, you know. honestly, I'm gonna seriously. Yeah, dil se, tahe dil se, yaar, tahe dil se. कि दिल मेरा धक धक डोले. I'm missing you, yaar. Seriously, Yasir ji, ये रात और ये दूरी. तेरा मिलना है जरूरी, यार. Come, what do you say? This is an open invitation. No more of this cheap shots from afar. You can't, this one, no, not nice, you know, this one you're running away, this line of the oven, not nice, you know. So why don't you hook this up? Let's do this, man. Let's have an awesome dialogue, awesome conversation. Okay? Shall we leave it at that? That's my open message to you, Mulvi Yasir Saab, Damat Barakatuhum al-Aliya, As-Sayyid, Al-Muhtaram, Al-Muqaddas. Okay? आरती उतारें यार, आपकी आरती उतारें यार. Right, I don't know, because obviously to him I'm a kafir already, but I'm going to show, honestly, I'm going to show you the utmost risk, like everything. I mean it when I say I'll see to all of these things with class, with honors. All of these things will be seen to, okay? So I don't even know if I can say salam to him, because he obviously doesn't consider me probably as a Muslim. So chalo, Radhe Radhe. Right, I'll leave that message for Maulvi Yasir. And the other thing, by the way, you know, they've developed this new craze saying, oh, why does he use the name Abu Layth? Abu Layth, you know. We must call him by his birth given name, not Abu Layth. Arey, teri kahe ko sulag rahi hai yaar? Tabiyat kahe ko sulag rahi hai? That's what I mean. Right? First of all, we cannot call people by their kunyas. Really? Do you call Abu Bakr radiallahu an by his kunya? No? You refuse to call Abu Bakr by his kunya? Abu Huraira, do you refuse to call him Abu Huraira? A kunya is basically Abu, something like Abu Layth. I've had this kunya since I began my studies. Okay, so I've had this from in the late 90s, Abu Layth. That's how long I've had this kunya with me. So this issue of we refuse to call people by their kunyas. Do you call Abu Huraira by his kunya? Or you refuse to, or is he ashamed? They said that if you use your kunya, you must be ashamed of the name your father gave you. Really? Abu Huraira? Abu Sa'id al-Khudri? Abu Ubayd? I mean, are these, no? All these Sahaba, they use Abu Hanifa ji, radiyallahu an. You don't call him, can't call him Abu Hanifa. Must be embarrassed of the name his dad gave him. Abu Yusuf? Acha. Abu Layth as-Samarkandi, the famous Hanafi Abu Layth as-Samarkandi. So, Meri Jaan, this one not nice, you know, this one too much, you know, too much. So basically, ponder over what you're saying, at least try to make some sense for God's sake. Right, let's move on to some other questions, man. Let's move on to some other questions. What are we looking at? Right, okay, now I've been asked about women traveling. Somebody's asked, am I high? I'm always high, man. I'm as high as a kite. That's my default state, honestly. That is my default state. What's that poem? That नशा जरूरी है जिंदगी के लिए, नशा जरूरी है जिंदगी के लिए, सिर्फ शराब ही काफी नहीं है बेखुदी के लिए. That intoxication is important for this in life, that alcohol on its own doesn't quite cut it. He says, किसी की मस्त निगाहों में डूब जाओ एक दफा. Allah. Immerse yourselves into somebody's wild and crazy eyes. Drown yourself in those eyes. बड़ा हसीन समुंदर है खुदकुशी के लिए. That it is an amazing ocean in which you can commit suicide. So people, sometimes this is my default state, you know. I'm actually like this. I'm a bit I'm a bit loco. So that's my sanity is overrated anyway. Right, so okay, now somebody had asked me a question. What are your views on Hamza Yusuf? Hamza Yusuf's amazing. He's a legend, one of my heroes, one of my icons. Let me share something with you people. When I first considered traveling to study and to take, not just traveling to study, when I first thought I want to commit to studying, it was after watching the video of Sheikh Hamza Yusuf called Ihya Ulumuddin, Revival of the Islamic Sciences, when he's interviewing his teacher in a tent. And this was back in the days when they were on those VHS kind of video cassettes, you know, those video cassettes. This is like in 97 or something. And so that's right, those of you trolling, you will get blocked, okay. Ihya Ulumuddin is the name of a book of Imam Ghazali, but I don't think Hamza Yusuf's video, that video was about his book. That video was about reviving these sciences, okay. So I think that really, wallahi, after watching that, Allah inspired me in my heart, that I thought, you know what, I want to learn. Honestly, I was only 17, and I thought to myself, I want to learn. Allah. And that changed. I mean, that and other things that came after it changed the trajectory of my life. I totally love sorry, I was just trying to oh God, almost. Alright, there you go, I've blocked him. Right, so that actually changed the trajectory of my life. And so to me, Hamza Yusuf is always a legend. And it doesn't mean he would have to agree with all my views or things like that. And I wouldn't expect him to. I've only met him once, very briefly, when he came to the UK. And I would love to be able to meet him in the future, speak to him, pick his brains on things. But it doesn't mean, I mean, you know, sometimes some people are like, oh, haha, he disagrees with you. I mean, I never said I'm his clone. I just said I love the guy, that's all. I mean, he's an inspiration for me. That's all. Right, so where are the sunglasses? The sunglasses are over there somewhere. Right, so let's move on. Right, women traveling. Now, I'd been asked a question about women traveling, and is this without a mahram. A mahram is a male guardian to whom that is related to the woman in such a way that they could not marry amongst themselves. And so brother, son, father, uncle, nephew, these kind of things, for example, grandfather, stuff like this, a mahram. And I've dealt with the question, which is also a separate question now on YouTube, that if a woman wet nurses a man, does he become her mahram? Which is absurd. Of course he doesn't. Right? So if she kind of breastfed him, or he drank from her actual milk, does he become? And some people have been pushing this in saying that's a valid thing in Islam. I've explained, and I've got that video as a separate, that's absurd and not true, right? Okay, so as to women traveling, now we've got to understand, first of all, I'm going to explain that yes, of course, a woman can travel in Islam without a guardian. I'm explaining that first of all. So I'm going to give you the ruling first of all. Of course she can. And this ruling was simply about safety. So once I've highlighted that ruling, I'm going to go through the breakdown and the detail of this topic with you, okay? Now, so there are this issue arises from certain hadith that are transmitted from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings be upon him, mainly from four companions, okay, from Ibn Umar, from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, from Abu Huraira, and from Ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhum. So these four companions are the main transmitters of this particular hadith about a woman, if she travels, she needs a guardian. Now, so that's something I want us to understand, that this is... So let's take a look at these narrations first of all. All of these narrations seem to vary in key detail, okay, in how far can a woman travel without a guardian. Because did they mean by this that she can't even step outside her house? Generally speaking, no scholars understood that. Generally speaking, maybe some nutcases, some control freaks may have had such an understanding, but generally speaking, nobody in Islam understood things like that. That what they meant was a journey, okay? Even if it was a short journey or a long journey, this is what they didn't mean things like her going into the streets, or into that street or this street or the markets or things like this, because everybody has always been doing that, okay? Now, we have a hadith from Ibn Umar. This hadith is transmitted where in the Musnad of Ahmad, in Abu Dawud, in Sahih Bukhari, in Sahih Muslim, and in there's two narrations in Sahih Muslim. Ibn Umar says that it is impermissible, he heard from the Prophet, for a woman to travel illa ma'adhi mahramin minha, except with a mahram, for thalathata ayyam, the journey masirata thalathata ayyam, a journey that would take 3 whole days. In one narration in Sahih Muslim, he says masirata thalatha layal, that the journey of 3 nights. Right, so this is Ibn Umar's narration. It comes in these books, in Bukhari, in Muslim. There's 2 narrations, in Abu Dawud, in the Musnad of Ahmad. Then we have the narration of Abu Huraira. Abu Huraira's narration is interesting. He seems to mention, it's in Bukhari, it's in Sahih Muslim, it's in Tirmidhi, it's in Abu Dawud. Abu Huraira says he heard the Prophet say, Masirata yawmin wa layla, that the journey of 1 single day and a single night. Laysa ma'aha hurma. He uses the word hurma, which is like sanctity, and used often for a guardian who there is a sanctity that you can't marry because of. Now, in his narration in Sahih Muslim, it says Masirat al-Layla, the journey of one night. Otherwise it says in Sahih Bukhari, Masirat al-Yawmin wa Layla, of one day and one night. This is the kind of transmission we're getting from Abu Huraira, which is in Sahih Bukhari, it's in Sahih Muslim, it's in Ibn Majah, it's in Tirmidhi. Okay, so these kind of, you've got these four. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so these four. Then Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, he has a transmission which is interesting. It's in Sahih Muslim. He says, I heard the Prophet say that she cannot undertake safaran, a journey, which yakunu thalathata ayyamin fasa'idan, that is of 3 whole days and more, fasa'idan, and above 3 whole days. In his narration, and that's also in Tirmidhi, fasa'idan, there's a narration in Abu Dawood that says safaran فوق ثلاثة أيام فساعدا. In Abu Dawood, his narration of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri says, I heard the Prophet say, a journey which is more than 3 whole days and counting. So, and in his narration in the Musnad of Ahmad, he says, فوق ثلاثة ليال, a journey that is more than 3 whole nights. And then he has one in Sahih Muslim which just says the word 3, thalathan. And then it's interesting, he has another one in Muslim and Bukhari that says yawmayni min ad-dahar, 2 whole days of time. Now, so this narration of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, which is in Tirmidhi, Muslim, it's in Abu Dawood and Musnad of Ahmad, all seem to say more than 3 whole days and counting. His narrations in Muslim and Bukhari say, other narrations in Muslim and Bukhari say only 2 days, and then his other narration in Muslim says 3 days. Then the 4th companion, which is Ibn Abbas. Now he has a narration that mentions no time span. It only says that I heard the Prophet say, La tusafir, that a woman should not travel who believes in Allah and His Messenger, illa ma'adhi mahram, except with accompanied by a guardian. Now, this is in Bukhari, it's in Muslim, and it's in the Musnad of Ahmad. This, from Ibn Abbas, it all appears to be one narration. Why? Because at the end of it, he says the person then asks the Prophet, oh, but my wife has gone to Hajj. In some he says she's gone, in some he says she's intending to go. And I have been enlisted for battle. So he's about to go on a battle. Now he says to the Prophet that she's already gone and I've been enlisted. And the Prophet says, go do the Hajj with her. Join her upon the Hajj. He says that in all of those narrations in Bukhari, Muslim and Ahmad. So it shows that this is one man asking. And this seems to be one incident with Ibn Abbas. So these are the 4 main companions upon which this whole understanding rests and is built, okay, of a woman needing a companion. Now, like I mentioned, most scholars all accepted this was not talking about a woman just leaving the house and going about the town. This was talking about a journey. Most scholars in the past said that a woman cannot go on a journey unless she's accompanied. This was their understanding based on these kind of hadith. Then came the issue of, oh, what about the Hajj? If a woman has to go do the Hajj. Because Allah is telling in the Quran that He is stating, He's instructing, وَمَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ مِنْكُمْ, that, you know, who وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ, that people have an obligation to go perform the Hajj. So here there is a huge disagreement amongst scholars on who can perform the Hajj. A woman, let's say a woman doesn't have a guardian to go with her. Okay. Now, according to certain scholars, she can still go. That is not a problem. Okay. Now, amongst them were people like from the Salaf, Ibn Sirin, Ibn Jubayr, Sa'id ibn Jubayr. These are like Ibn Jubayr, student of Ibn Abbas. The Shafi'i madhab said she can go in a group of women. Imam Malik had a very open understanding. He said she can just go with anybody. As long as she's accompanied, she can go, whether they are men or not. But as long as they use the term rufqatun ma'muna, a safe company. And Ibn Battal, the great Maliki legend from Muslim Spain, uses the reference. He says the majority of the scholars are upon this. Whether they are or not, one can argue, but this is what Ibn Battal, from Muslim Spain, over 1,000 years ago, in his commentary on Sahih Bukhari, writes, in his understanding, the majority of the scholars are upon that. And he says there's a hadith from Ibn Umar that he would do Hajj with women who were his neighbors. They would come with him when he would go to do Hajj. So that's their kind of understanding. Okay. Now, then, in this, the Hanafi madhab, Imam Abu Hanifa said that if the journey was more than 3 days, like it was a lengthy journey, the Hajj, then she can only go if she has a mahram. And the Hanbalis seem to go alongside with that, as does Ishaq ibn Rahaway as well, in his madhab, and I believe Abu Thawr as well. So these are some of the classical understandings, okay? Now, then came another problem. You see, what's interesting is this problem came that, oh, well, what if a woman was kidnapped and she's... You know, it just goes to show how some of the ulama thought. They say like, oh, what if she's kidnapped and enslaved and taken far away? Let's say she's taken away 100 miles away. So she's... Or let's say she becomes a Muslim in a non-Muslim land that is hostile to her. So how can she... But if she runs away, let's say she has an opportunity to run away. If she runs away, oh, but she doesn't have a guardian. And what's hilarious is some scholars just outright said, no, it's an obligation, she must still go. It's shocking that they actually problematized this. They actually saw this as a problem, like, And Kamaluddin ibn al-Humam, the famous Hanafi, his get-out clause was that, well, she must still run away because it is a problem, but we don't call this a journey. Because in Arabic, this won't be called a journey. This will be called an escape. Oh, God. Honestly, I love I love how hard why not just say, look, get the hell out of there. Get the hell out of here. Any chance you get, run. Why not just say something like, are you crazy even trying to contemplate these issues? Just run, run, run. Have you heard of Forrest Gump? Just do a Forrest Gump. That's the... Forget about trying to justify and the fact that, oh, well, that's because it would apply, but this is called an escape. It's not called a journey. I mean, for God's sake, do you live in the real world? So sometimes, you see, when people say, oh, but scholars in the past didn't pick up on this issue, you've got to understand that they didn't always think the way we think. We are thinking within our own environment. They were thinking within their own environment. And one could ask, why was a great scholar like Ibn al-Humam really trying to justify this so much? Because the luck and the control that the Hanafi madhab had was a notorious one. Right, so this is why, and this is why Ibn Humam is one of those scholars who actually does disagree with the Hanafi madhab on a few issues and faces a hell of a lot of slack for it. That they actually they've almost dissed him to an opinion that they don't like taking his opinions anymore within the Hanafi madhab. And his own student was somebody that disowned him. So you can see what they were suffering from. So, right, so that's coming to this issue. And I'd like to highlight here that, Imam Abu Hanifa was actually trying to create ease for the woman. In his time, most of the ulama were going with the understanding that a woman couldn't travel on any journey. So he said he took the longest journey, which was 3 whole days and nights. So if a woman was to go off on her own for 3 whole days, he said that that's the one we're going to take. And in any short journey, she can travel unaccompanied. Imam Abu Hanifa was actually trying to make life easy for the women around him. What his madhab eventually started to do was a whole different story. Okay, they then converted this into mild. They then, like Ibn Abidin, who really just puts this. Ibn Abidin, is a great scholar, but what he did to the Hanafi madhab, and I suppose he wasn't the first person, but he kind of seals it. He turns it into something else, honestly. He kind of officially turns it. Other people before him had already kind of set up this rigid approach, and he just kind of locks it into place. He says that we're going to not go with Abu Hanifa's thing. We're going to go with this 1 day and 1 night, and then he also reinforces that this should be converted into miles, which makes 48 miles, and a woman is incapable, like she is Islamically incapable of traveling 48 miles. And then the shocking thing is, okay, forget the fact that Ibn Abidin said that. People here in the West, in the UK, are teaching this now. Can you believe this? So, and what's worse is that the UK media has picked up on it. So the UK media, the Independent had an article, and the Daily Mail picked up an article in 2016 saying that the Blackburn Muslim Association, whatever that is, but some association, are advising all their Islamic kind of adherents that it is impermissible for a woman to travel 48 miles, and if she does, she is deserving of the hellfire. Okay, and this is absurd. So you will get women that they allowed to travel 47 miles. They're allowed to travel 47.9. Oh, but that final step, you nutty, you choose that final step. This one haram, this step, this. Just one small step, one giant leap into Jahannam. So that, that final step that's going to make it at 48 miles, that's one small step for a woman, one giant leap into Jahannam. This is absurd. This is ridiculous. This one is making mockery of the religion. This is a mockery of the deen. Okay, so we're making a mockery, people. Right, so now I'm going to come back to taking a look at these issues. Right, so these issues, people, and let me give you another example. And like the Hanafis, the Salafis, especially the Saudi Salafis, toba, toba, toba. The Saudi Salafis, these Hanafis, inke bhi baap nikle. They're like a layer above them all. They're like, whoa. They're like, you think that's controlling? We'll show you controlling. So look, check this out. the Fatawa, the board of Fatwa in Saudi Arabia, Fatawa Lajna Ad-Da'ima, was asked, can a woman travel without a mahram? They said, يحرم على المرأة السفر. يحرم على المرأة السفر. It's haram for her to have a journey بدون محرم مطلقا, categorically, سواء قصرت المسافة أم طالت, even if it's a long journey or a short journey. Haram, haram. I gotta act like one of those, you know, those with the really. So, and then Sheikh bin Baz, you've all heard of Sheikh bin Baz. Bin Baz is a bit of a slick name though, you gotta say. It's got that bin Baz. It's got that kind of ring to it though. It sounds like kind of like super hip almost, like, I don't know, like you're kind of thinking Bin Baz. People say Bin Baz is gonna come. Whoa. Probably picturing like a super Bin Baz. Alright. Bin Baz. But Sheikh Bin Baz, who's passed away, may Allah have mercy on him and elevate him in Jannah as elevate every Muslim. And may Allah have mercy on all of His creation, on the whole of humanity. Ameen. Right, so Sheikh bin Baz was asked by a Saudi, I mean, she wasn't poor as in financially poor, but an unfortunate teacher, Saudi woman, female teacher, who said that to go, sometimes whilst we're teaching, we have to go from Dammam, the city, Dammam in Saudi Arabia. We have to go by bus to some neighboring kind of, some vicinities, some localities where we will be having either a session or delivering something, and we'll go by the school bus, as in the staff bus. We're going to take the bus. Can we go? He said, blah. He said, La, no, it is haram, because it goes against the hadith of the Prophet. So it's interesting that, look, that this whole understanding, and I don't think, somebody said Uthaymeen, I don't think Uthaymeen allowed women traveling generally either without a guardian. I don't think he did. But that some ulama have, and I'll come to that in a moment now. See, let's take a look at all of this. What's really going on? You see, these hadith I've quoted, people, these hadith were the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam not trying to set boundaries to confine women at all. And anybody who thinks that has a poor opinion of the best of creation, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was trying to safeguard. Now, during his lifetime, Medina and the Muslim settlement was attacked and was undergoing huge hostilities. Neighboring tribes, at time you had Ghatfan and these other tribes and all these people. You had the Ahzab, the coalition against the Prophet. You had so many people targeting the Muslim communities, laying kind of siege or opportunists. You had an understanding that the Kuffar of Quraysh said to the Prophet after at Hudaybiyah that any men, that if a man, إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ رَجُلٌ, if a man comes to you who believes, you will have to return him to us. And the Prophet agreed, because the Muslims needed this, they needed to compromise for this safety, for kind of a peace settlement. Now, at the time when the women came, the Prophet said, we agreed to men, but we didn't say woman. So we're not going to send these women back. This infuriated the kuffar of Quraysh and other tribes as well. People were just dying for an opportunity to get the Muslims back. Now, as the time progressed, the Muslims kind of had treaties, peace treaties with varying tribes. Okay. Now, some of these, so for example, sometimes there were neighboring tribes. There was, let's say, Khaybar with the Jewish kind of settlement. Then that gets settled. Muslims kind of take over. They establish this. Okay, that's not a threat anymore. Then you've got the coalition. Okay, the coalition breaks away. Some other tribes come in. They become friendly now. And these ones, then, well, they think, well, And towards the end of the Prophet's life, the whole of Arabia had pretty much come under an agreement with the Prophet. And most of Arabia had come under Islam. So you see that based on the dangers, the vicinity was varying. Hence the Prophet was saying, oh, she shouldn't travel one day. Because right now the tribe, a whole day would get a woman this far. Beyond that is a danger zone. Then the peace treaties expand. Oh, who travels 2 days is okay. But beyond that, there's a danger zone. Oh, now it's expanded even further. 3 days. Oh, then it expands a bit more. 3 days and more. This was the Prophet trying to safeguard the women. Because, yes, men were targets too, but women were greater and seen as softer targets by these people. Okay, so this was why the Prophet ﷺ had said it. And how can we prove this? Well, let's go to another hadith. Right now, I want to take you to a hadith which is also in Bukhari. Now, this hadith, in which the Prophet is addressing a companion by the name of Adi ibn Hatim. Okay, Adi ibn Hatim is speaking to the Prophet, and the Prophet says to him, he says to him, Ya Adi, do you know where al-Hira is? Al-Hira is a place, a location. It's actually located in Iraq. It's very far from the Arabian Peninsula, especially in that day and age. And he says, you know, I've heard of it, this place called al-Hira. The Prophet says to him, Ya Adi, that in talat bika hayat, that if life stretches for you, that if you live a long life, you will see, latarayanna, you will certainly see, al-dha'ina, a woman traveler, female traveler, setting off from al-Hira, coming to Mecca, وَتَطُوفُ الْبَيْتَ, and she will do tawaf on her own, لَا تَخْشَى وَلَا تَخَافُ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. She will fear none except Allah. And in another riwayah, it says, لَتُوشِكَنَّ الذَّعِينَ, that the Prophet said to him that the female traveler, أَن تَخْرُجْ بِغَيْرِ جَوَارٍ, without anybody to neighbor her, on her own she will come, and she will come to Mecca, and she will do tawaf, not fearing anybody but Allah. And Adi ibn Hatim says that I thought when the Prophet said this, I was thinking to myself, but where is that happening from all the massacre, bloodshed and rioting that these people, the looting that these tribes are doing? How could she come past all of this? See, even he is thinking of the danger. Yet he says, Wallahi, in my old age I saw the dha'ina, a woman coming from that place to Mecca on her own, not fearing nobody except Allah. That much stability had come about in the region during that time, and the prophecy of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had manifested. And these are the amazing kind of a hadith that we see that people have turned a blind eye to. And this is why certain scholars, they have been like Abdul Muhsin al-Ubaykan, who is a Salafi kind of Saudi scholar, who said that, are people crazy that are saying a woman can't travel on her own? Right? Where are they from this hadith? And people like Sheikh Ahmed Qasim al-Ghamidi, not Javed, even Javed Ghamidi as well, but Sheikh Ahmed Qasim al-Ghamidi from Saudi Arabia, and even Sheikh Dadu has a fatwa on a woman traveling by aeroplane and things like this. And this ruling has existed in the madhabs, and I'd like to quote to you from this is a commentary on the Muwatta of Imam Malik by the legend from Muslim Spain, Abul Walid al-Baji, who's almost from 1,000 years ago. He passes away in 494 Hijri. Now, there's a hadith that where this comes speaking about the Hajjul Mar'a, and that a woman needs a guardian if she's going to go on Hajj. Okay, now check this out. Abul Walid al-Baji, he says, okay, the hadith of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, لا يحل لامرأة تؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر أن تسافر مسيرة يوم والليلة إلا مع ذو محرم منها, that this hadith of Abu Sa'id, that a woman cannot go a day or night's journey without a mahram. He says, this is not an obligatory journey, this is generally and blah blah blah. He gives this example, and then he says, وقال الإمام أبو الوليد, and this is a style, by the way, of the legacy of our scholars, especially the Malikis and other people. They often used kunyas. Okay, Abu al-Walid, they always usually went with their kunyas. Ibn Abdul Barr always goes with Abu Umar, and hence you have Abu Layth in front of you people. He says, وَوَجْهُ ذَلِكَ عِنْدِي. Right, so he's speaking about who you should go with and so on. Mas'ala. وَلَعَلَّ هَذَا الَّذِي ذَكَرَ بَعْضُ أَصْحَابِنَا. He says, this which some of our ulama said that, oh, a woman must go accompanied and stuff like this. إِنَّمَا هُوَ في حال, sorry, the mas'ala, not that about a woman must go on her own. That he says, this which some of our ulama have mentioned, that traveling with, if you're accompanied by the certain relatives that you didn't get on with, for example, he speaks about. Like they give the example of Raba'ib. He says, إِنَّمَا هُوَ فِي حَالِ الْإِنْفِرَادِ وَالْعَدَدِ الْيَسِيرِ. This is when we're speaking about a very small number of people traveling, or if the woman is traveling on her own. Now listen to this. فَأَمَّا الْقَوَافِلُ الْعَظِيمَةِ, and this is almost 1,000 years ago. It says, as to large caravans, وَالطُّرُقُ الْمُشْتَرَكَةِ الْعَامِرَةِ الْمَأْمُونَةِ, and as to great highways, where many people go on these highways, and they are safe. He says, فَإِنَّهَا عِنْدِي مِثْلُ الْبِلَادِ الَّتِي يَكُونُ فِيهَا الْأَسْوَاقِ وَالتُّجَّارِ. These to me are like marketplaces, where everybody is mixed. فَإِنَّ الْأَمَنْ يَحْصُلُ لَهَا دُونَ ذِي مَحْرَمٍ وَلَا امْرَأَةٍ. A woman is safe there without any guardian or without any female companion. A woman can go to the marketplaces. And he says, and this is what Imam Awza'i had also taught. And that is from his, and what is great as well, you see the legend Imam Malik, when he transmits this hadith in his Muwatta, in his Jami', where he's speaking about a woman traveling with a dhu mahram, he brings 3 ahadith in that bab, and he begins it by the hadith that the Prophet said 2 men traveling are shaitans. Are they, like one is a shaitan, 2 are 2 shaitans, but 3 are companions. Why was the Prophet, and then Imam Malik brings the hadith, let not a woman travel except with a mahram. Now you tell me, why is the Prophet calling 2 people traveling devils? This was religious rhetoric that was used in the day and age to safeguard them, because there was hostile territory. Okay, so this is to kind of bring to our understanding, people, that that women can travel. Of course they can travel. And I was reading a fatwa by some Salafis. They said, oh, some people say that, look, they said that Sheikh Mustafa Zarqa from Sham in the past had given the fatwa, a woman can travel by aeroplane, it's absolutely fine, and she can be received on the other end. And people like Sheikh Dadu had said that as well. And so somebody said, no. I was reading the criticism, and they said, because really the safety that these people are saying is in airports, is it really there? And if the woman gets in danger, like she's attacked, really she needs the husband who can truly take care of this, unlike the security staff at an airport. I mean, really? The husband's probably thinking, bloody hell. Okay. I've got to take on everybody. I mean, there's security here, for God's sake. There's trained security guards. But I've got to be the sole warrior. I mean, this is the kind of thinking that these people are carrying. That no, if a woman was to come under attack, unlike the security at an airport, the true safety can only be undertaken by the husband, who must... It is I am here, step back. Get real, for God's sake. What is wrong with people? Wow. So this is, so yes, it is absolutely fine for a woman to travel on her own. And the key thing was all about safety, okay? And please stop circulating these rulings about 48 miles. It is really making a mockery out of the deen. And people need to really open up. And then they ask me, why do I think some of these scholars in the UK, are building caves, not communities, to quote Imam Sohaib Webb, that, look, because why they're doing that is because, look, you can't, this is bizarre that you're asking women that they can travel 47 miles and not 48. It's absurd, right? So please, people like Abul Walid al-Baji were ahead of you, and they were 1,000 years ago. So live, love, laugh, and learn, people. Right, so that's some of the interesting things. I'll tell you what, should we take some rapid 1-2 questions, and then let's call this a wrap, people. Let's call this a wrap. What say you? Quite a few things we've covered here. Any interesting questions? What are we looking at? Culture plays a big part. It absolutely does. Dreams. Jamil Khan, what kind of dreams are you having? Yes. Ghusl is... Right, go on. Next question. Allowed stock market trading? Absolutely. Yeah, I will. You know what it was? I'm going to go get some of that tea, absolutely. Please explain Lahwal Hadith. Lahwal Hadith is talking, it's talking about people misguiding people, okay? People that were telling mythologies at the time that were more fascinating stories, taking people away from Tawheed. And that's why the verse in the Quran said Lahwal Hadith. It is not talking about music. Please watch my clip on YouTube that is already explaining music, and music is permissible. Forex is allowed. Ashraf Ali Tanwi's book on dreams. All these books on dreams and things like this are just... they have no validity, no reality, and it is nothing but superstition, okay? The way it's being presented. I would tell people to really stay wary of these things. Do not build your deen on folklore or on superstition, people. What does Islam say about surrogacy? That is a complex question. I've answered that before. Right, but I've answered that before saying I believe that there is some scope for surrogacy in Islam, but I have answered that before. Are you Muslim? Hi, Hasibullah, asking, am I Muslim? Well, according to some, I'm clearly not. So, so who can interpret dreams then? Right, okay. Mufti Abu Layth. Taqleed in Aqidah, Rahel has asked the question. We don't generally do taqleed in Aqidah. I would say you can read through the books of Creed, that's fine. You can learn, adopt issues. If an issue doesn't settle well with you, you are not under obligation to just embrace it by blindly following people. You can research it, you can read up counter positions, things like that. That is fine. The Aqidah really that I would just advise Muslims that they need to believe in is what the Prophet taught us. And that is that you believe in Allah, you believe in His prophets, you believe in revelation, you believe in Allah being in absolute control ultimately, and you believe in an afterlife, and that's it. Everything else, fine. Everything else is good. It's like Islamic information. I say that in a very summarized sense. There may be certain issues that I've left out here. Can Muslims be donors after death? Absolutely. And that's Hama doing it. Right. Yes, they can. Absolutely. And I've answered that previously. Can we have gifts to detect the presence of jinn? Somebody's asked, can we have gifts to detect the presence of jinn? Like a Ghostbuster kit. Beep, 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 beep. There's like, is there a jinn here? And there's like a jinn sitting. Is there a jinn here? Is there a jinn here? Is there and it's right there. It's right there on the shoulder. To be honest with you, if a jinn did look like that, I would be seriously disappointed. I would be like, come on. Imagine that turned up and said, hey, I'm a jinn. And you're like, behave. And then you're like, possessed. Right, so Saudi card game tournament. All right, let the Saudis have some fun, man. I'm actually I take a liking to MBS, Mohammed bin Salman. All right. Sometimes I feel like something there. Faisal wa alaikum assalam. What do you think of prophets' bodies not decomposing in the graves? It's a hadith. Is it true? I don't know if it's true, because we've never dug up or exhumated the bodies of prophets, and generally we don't know where any prophet is buried, truly, objectively speaking, except our prophet. And so I don't know whether that was said. It's possible that was said in a literal sense. It's possible that was said in a kind of virtuous kind of sense. Okay. Somebody asked me the question that in the Quran it mentions يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ, on the day that somebody will run from his family members on the day of judgment, and they're running from their fathers, their brothers, their sisters, their wives, their mothers. Everybody's abandoning each other. Is this literal? This isn't, in my understanding. You can take it literally. In my understanding, it's hyperbole. It's kind of there just to create a picture. Like Allah then goes on to say, like the way deers, they're running like deers from a lion. So it doesn't mean that this is literal. It's trying to show you the intensity of the day. That's what it is. These things are not really, in my understanding, to be taken literally. But people can take them literally. I mean, but in my understanding, the afterlife, when Allah is explaining it, it's more about trying to get the message. Hence, when Allah says, وَيَوْمَ يُكْشَفُ عَنْ سَاقٍ, that the kind of, the shin, the lower part of the leg is revealed, and they are told to bow down, and they cannot prostrate. And this is why some of the people then said, so this means Allah has a saq, Allah has a kind of shin, which is absurd according to me. But this was a metaphor, because the Arabs would use that as an example when things got really intense. So when it was time for war, because they wore thobes, when they were going to charge into each other, they would kind of lift their kind of thobe by kind of clenching it from one side. They would hold their spears, and that would show one of their legs kind of bare, the lower part of the leg, and they would be ready for a charge position. And when you saw that, you knew that they're about to charge now. So it was on. And this is why they would say, وَكَشَفَتِ السَّاقُ كَشَفَتِ الْحَرْبُ عَنْ سَاقِهَا, that the war revealed its shin, its kind of lower leg. And this meant that it was on, that it was happening. So that's the idiomatic usage in the Quran. Not quite somebody saying lungi dance. Lungi dance, not quite the lungi dance, but chalo, ye bhi ek nazariya hai. That's one way of looking at things, right? Take care, people, inshallah. Shall we? What is the right? So okay, somebody's asked about saints. I've answered that before in my understanding of Tawheed. Right, guys, we're going to call this a wrap. That's enough, inshallah, for this week. If you're tuning in for the first time, like my page, like both pages, follow it. Click for notifications, subscribe to my YouTube, share my stuff, get it out there, people. Spread the love. It's important, people, it's important. We've got to do these things. People say, look, you want people to like your pages, okay? What did the poet say? He said, मुझे जिंदगी का इतना तजुर्बा तो नहीं. That he says that मुझे जिंदगी का इतना तजुर्बा तो नहीं. I haven't got that much experience about life, पर सुना है सादगी में लोग जीने नहीं देते. He says, but I've heard by keeping simple, this world just won't let you be. So, people, inshallah, if you have any messages, do, inshallah, reach out to me. I do try to answer. If you're on Snapchat, it's Malm2014, MALM 2014. Inshallah, much love, much respect for kind of tuning in, for being very supportive, just encouraging the way you are. May Allah keep you all smiling, inshallah, and fill your lives with laughter. Look at this, by the way. This is a new cologne I've bought, like a wax cologne. Kind of taking a real liking to this. Right, people, take very good care of yourselves. Have an awesome week. Till next week. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.